Hi everyone, thank you for joining tonight. My name is Georgia and I'm a Community Engagement Officer at UAC, and tonight we're going to be talking about pathways into university. So in general, the webinar is going to talk about pathways, obviously, what they are and how they can help you gain admission into a university. We're also going to explain the terminology of fast tracking and what that means, because some people might have read about this on university websites and things like that. We're going to also talk about all things credit. So some universities might refer to this as an articulation agreement. And I'll explain in greater detail later on how credit arrangements or articulation can help you gain a qualification at a university sooner. And we'll also talk about some other just general admission requirements that you might encounter if you're using a pathway that's less common these days, that's something other than the ATAR. So to get started, I'll begin by recapping the key dates that are upcoming for the application system, which we always do. So we've had our first round of SRS offers already been issued to Year 12 students this year. So if you received one of those, congratulations. We do have a November round 2, which is coming up on the 14th of November. So if you have an existing UAC application, make sure you log in and check what your preference or wish list is in your UAC account before midnight or 11:59 p.m. tomorrow on the 14th. And then any offers that are released in this November round 2 will be issued at 7:30 in the morning on the 21st of November. And this round could include people who are not considered current Year 12 applicants. So we call these people post-school applicants or non-school leavers. And yeah, if you are applying to a course that does release offers for those degrees or those universities in November, you might receive an offer on the 21st as well. Then beyond November, we move into the bigger offer rounds, which usually look at ATAR requirements. So if you're someone in Year 12, you'll receive your ATAR this year on the 18th. You also have until 11:59 p.m. that same day to consider what's in your preference list and the order of it and make any changes. And then on the 23rd of December, the first offers that are assessing this year's ATAR will be issued. And then there's more offer dates that follow on from that as well. So quickly for the application process, if you're unfamiliar with it or if you'll be going through it next year or something like that, it is all online. This year it opened on the 3rd of April. To create a UAC account or submit a UAC application online, you will be asked to put in your student number if you are a Year 12 student. And also if you're in Year 12 in New South Wales, you'll be requested to put in your UAC PIN number, which we send to Year 12 students the day that the UAC application opens. If you're not in Year 12 and you're applying to university through the UAC website, you can put in the first 4 numbers of your date of birth in replacement of that UAC PIN number. And when you're making your application, or what I sometimes refer to as an account, you can just tell us that you're not a current Year 12 student when applying. However, everybody that's making an application on the UAC website will be requested to put in their unique student identifier number, or USI. So if you don't have one of those, it is a requirement to complete this account or application creation step. So if you don't have one, just head over to the usi.gov.au website and you can fill in a form and have your existing one resent to you, or you can create one if you haven't had one throughout your lifetime. And if this information in talking form is not that helpful, we do have a brief video which talks about how to apply. We've shown lots of these videos in the past in our other events, but this one is showing the application steps from the perspective of someone who's not a current Year 12 student, because tonight's webinar is more about pathways. So because anyone can apply through UAC, no matter your age or no matter if you have an ATAR or not. So if you're wondering what that process looks like, this video goes into more detail about that.
If you finish school before 2024, here's how you apply for uni through UAC. To get started, head to the UAC website, uac.edu.au. Click the Apply or Login button and select Undergraduate Application from the drop-down menu. Read the information on the Start page. Take particular note of the application fee. Click the Start Your Application button. Register your application by entering your personal email address and a password. You'll be emailed a link to verify your email address. Once that's done, go back to the application start page and log in using your registered email address and password. Select your citizenship and tell us that you're not a Year 12 student. Click Continue to move to the Personal Details page. Enter all the details requested, including your government-issued unique student identifier. You need it to enroll and get a help loan. There's a link to apply for a USI if you don't already have one. On this page, you can also authorize a friend or relative to act on your behalf. And you can list any disabilities or illnesses you might need support with at uni. When you click Next, your UAC application number will be displayed. We'll also send you an email with a record of your application number. You'll need it to contact us about your application. Click Continue to move through to the Qualifications page. This is where you add your relevant qualifications, like previous and current study and work experience. Use the help icons if you're unsure about where to enter your qualification. Click Submit to save the qualifications, and when you're done, click Next to continue. The Course Preferences page is where you choose the courses you like to apply for. You can include up to 5 courses. If you're not sure about the courses you've chosen, don't worry. You can always change them later. Click Search for courses to get started. First, select the institutions you're interested in, or select all. The courses available at those institutions will be displayed. To refine the search results, you can enter the 6-digit course code from the UAC website Course Search, or you can enter a course name or campus. To add a course to your preference list, select the start date. Place your courses in order of preference. First on your list should be the course you'd most like to do, followed by your second, third, fourth, and fifth choices. The order is important because if you miss out on getting an offer to your first choice, you'll be considered for your second one, and so on. When you're done, save your changes to continue. Now you need to review your application. Check your details carefully and click the pencil icon next to any part of the summary to go back and make more changes. Once you're happy, click the Submit button. Read through the declaration and tick the box to agree with its terms and accept that the application fee is not refundable. Now it's time to make your payment. You can use a credit card or a PayPal account. Once you pay, your application is complete. It's a good idea to download and save your confirmation of application for your records. If you've experienced educational or financial challenges, you can follow the links to information about the Educational Access Scheme and Equity Scholarships to see if you're eligible to apply. You can log back into your application at any time between 7:30 a.m. and midnight to upload documents, change your course preferences, track your application, change your password, and check your offers. If you have any questions about your application, call our customer service team or use our online inquiry form.
Okay, so if you were wondering, if you're not in Year 12 this year, what the application process looks like for you, that video shows it. If you are in Year 12 and you're watching along, because maybe you're thinking pathways might be in your future, it's important to note that your current UAC application for this year in 2024 doesn't last for the rest of your lifetime. It does have an expiration date. So if you were to apply to a different degree or apply to change unis next year or maybe the year following next, you would repeat the application process through the UAC website a second time. But at that time, because you would no longer be considered a Year 12 student, that's when you would do the application process similar to what that video just showed you. So from when you apply to create a UAC account, it stays active until March the following year. So just be aware of that if you do decide to change unis or change degrees, or maybe you don't go to uni straight after school and you apply a little bit later in life. That means that maybe your application steps might look slightly different to what they would have been if you are a Year 12 student, just so you're aware. Okay, so the webinar tonight is all about pathways. And I guess the first question people might have is, why would you consider a pathway into university? And I guess the sort of top 4 reasons us in university land would recommend pathways is that they are very valuable sort of ways to gain admission to universities, is that if that's the type of education that you're seeking. So pathways generally are types of learning programs that attempt to bridge the gap between maybe high school level knowledge or vocational level knowledge, if you've done like a trade or something like that, into tertiary level. So some pathways you might gain a certificate out of, or some sort of formal qualification, and then that is giving you the skills that you need to get you entry into a bachelor's course. Some of these pathway courses or programs might also give you guaranteed entry into the second year of a bachelor's degree. So whether you do a diploma at a university college, because lots of universities have their own colleges which offer courses that are considered or ranked less than a bachelor. So if you were to do, your first year at a uni at their college, that they might guarantee you to go straight into the second year of the bachelor, in essentially skipping the first year because you've done study that equates to the first year within your diploma. You could also do a diploma at a TAFE or a private college, and some universities do recognise that time at those other places, but you just need to do a bit of research around which universities allow for that and which universities grant credit for that. Also, I guess pathways are a little bit of a taste test for what's to come in a 3-year or sometimes 4-year bachelor's degree. So if you're a bit on the fence about whether that field of study is for you, doing a lower level of study and just getting an idea whether that field of research or study or sector of employment is something that you would like to pursue at a higher level, being a bachelor's, these pathway courses could be maybe a more economical way or a shorter way to try it out. And lots are very flexible these days as well. So lots of universities or institutions offer online or like hybrid models of delivery. So if you do have an existing career or employment and you need that flexibility to retain your job, those sort of options are more common these days as well. Okay, so the next slide, when it appears. These in general are the types of pathways that universities recognise. So first off, you have what we call non-degree courses. So non-degree courses are sometimes offered by the universities themselves. So say you're someone that's in year 12 and you've just finished your year 12 exams for the year. Congratulations if that's you. And maybe you're a little bit anxious about what your results might be. You could look at putting a non-degree course in your UAC preference list as one of the options in like the wish list that you want to be assessed for entry. You could put it towards the bottom as number 5 if you are particularly concerned that maybe your marks might not give you an offer into any of the bachelor courses that you've preferenced for entry. So non-degrey courses have lots of different names. You can filter for these on our course search page. So there's like a pathways box, I think. Sorry if I'm giving you the wrong instructions, but it would be pathways maybe, or I think there's a box for like diploma level courses, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see like there's lots of boxes you can select to filter all the results that you're searching for in our course search page, which is sort of just like Google, but for degrees. And then you can enter this into your course list in your UAC application. So say your marks just miss out on the Bachelor of Engineering, you might get into the Diploma of Engineering, and then after studying that, you potentially could get into the second year of the Bachelor of Engineering after completing your diploma. And a lot of the time, it's offered at the same place. You're still at the same university, using the same facilities on the same campus. So it's not too much different. It's just that the course is structured slightly differently, and maybe the types of subjects that you're doing are taught in a slightly different manner. Some universities as well will see what's in your preference list, and they might offer you the lower level course if your marks aren't quite enough to give you the bachelor offer. So we call this a slip back offer. So say you've got 5 bachelor degrees in your list and you were very close to getting an offer to a Bachelor of Science. Perhaps the university will offer you a pathway into that Bachelor of Science through like foundation studies or some other similarly named pathway, because they have lots of different names for these things. But the way of entry is a slip back offer into a pathway. So sometimes those things happen as well. University preparation courses is sort of like an umbrella term that we give to preparation courses for people who might not have completed their year 12 year and they don't have a qualification that's equal to a year 12 certificate, like a HSC or a VCE, something like that. So sometimes they have age requirements, meaning you can't enroll into the university preparation course without being 21 years of age at the time that the prep course starts. And once you've completed this preparation course, it'll give you entry into some bachelor courses at that same university. But another thing to keep in mind is that university preparation courses don't always guarantee entry into every single degree on offer at that same place or university. So say you really want to study nursing and maybe you didn't go all the way through to year 12 in high school, and maybe you have like a certificate 1 or 2 or 3. There could be university preparation courses that exist for some degrees, but they may not allow entry into a Bachelor of Nursing or something like that. So again, pathways are really valuable. However, we do recommend that you do a little bit of research around what your, I guess, final destination or what you do want to obtain in terms of the final qualification or the final career outcome that you want to have, because it might not work exactly in the manner that you're hoping for every single time. And you might not find this information on a website for a university. It might require sending an email to the future students team or calling them up and having a discussion with them, talking with them and saying, well, you know, I've gone to TAFE and I have XYZ, or maybe I have this sort of work experience and I want to get this type of degree, and then they can give you a recommendation of what they think is the best course of action or pathway for you. So outside of universities, there's also other places or institutions which you can study at, which will provide you a pathway for entry into a university later on. And these include vocational training providers such as TAFE and also private colleges. So if you did a trade or if you've done a vocational certificate, those completed certificates can be assessed for entry into a university. Some degrees do have a certain requirement. So some degrees may not assess a Cert 3, or in some cases they might not assess a Cert 4, but they will consider a diploma for entry, or perhaps an advanced diploma. These days, it's pretty common for a Cert 4 to be accepted for lots of different degrees. But again, if you have something in particular that you want to get entry into at a university, it's always best to check with the university directly, either over email or over the phone, just to confirm that your existing study will be assessed for admission into the bachelor degree that you want to start studying. Then, yeah, the difference between doing it at TAFE or a private college, there's not really that much of a difference because they're assessing your completed qualification. And essentially, we'll just, at UAC, we'll look at that thing and we turn it into a number that acts like an ATAR. It acts like a selection rank. If you don't have any formal qualifications, like a Certificate 4, a Certificate 3, or a diploma or anything like that, you can consider studying a tertiary preparation certificate, and TAFE New South Wales offers these. They're considered at the Cert 4 level, and once you've completed your TPC, you can use that completed TPC for entry into a university. There are other pathways that don't require the qualification, sort of like having the piece of paper side of things. And in Australia or New South Wales, this includes the STAT test, so the Skills for Tertiary Admissions test. So there's two components to this. There's a multiple choice and a written component. However, there's also an age requirement for this as well. So you must be 21 years or older to sit this examination. So if you are someone that's less than 21 years at the moment and you're watching this and you're looking at pathways to get into university, I would investigate university non-degree courses, which have lots of different names, and lots of them you can put into a UAC application and see what you're offered. And you can also consider doing, you know, a diploma or a certificate either at a university, TAFE, or private college. And that completed thing turns into the stepping stone to getting into a university. But if you're someone that's older than 21 or 21 years and older, you might consider doing the STAT test, or if you have an existing qualification, we can assess that in some circumstances. But all of these things, we do recommend that you do a bit of research about what it is that you want to get entry into, what sort of field of study, and if there's any additional requirements around it, because it's not a one rule fits all degrees and all universities sort of approach. If you have any questions, just leave them in a comment below and we can answer them as we go along. And this is being recorded and it will be available on YouTube after the live, so you can watch it back as well. Okay, so there's more information about the pathways here, which I've mostly gone through, but I'll just quickly take a look and make sure that I have spoken about everything. So yeah, the non-degree courses, which can be at a university like University of A, they include names such as like foundation studies, enabling programs, things like that. So you can put that in your UAC application, and it could just be like a fail-safe measure if you're really worried. And sometimes universities might offer you a course with, you know, foundation studies or something like that in the name, if you miss out on the mark for entry into a particular bachelor's. The university preparation courses such as a TPC or a tertiary preparation certificate, usually they have age requirements. So just double check if you are someone that's less than 21 years of age. And yeah, you can use vocational certificates such as a Cert 3, Cert 4 diploma for assessment to get into a university degree. And then there's also the STAT test, which is the Skills for Tertiary Admissions test, which is multiple choice and a written component. And that gives you a score, which is assessed for entry into university. Okay, so lots of people, when we're talking about pathways, would like to know, okay, so if I do this pathway, how much extra time is that going to add on to the total years of study? And a lot of the time, it might not be adding on additional time, because lots of universities will recognize your years that you've done in the pathway as working towards graduation in a bachelor's degree. So we call this credit for prior learning or advanced standing. And the technical side of it is that the university will have an articulation agreement. So this is just that a university recognizes that TAFE teaches X, Y, and Z subjects, which equates to the university's ABC subjects. So, and that could be between the university's own college and the university level subjects. So if you're maybe, like if time, duration of study is a big consideration for you, if you're thinking, oh, well, I don't want to do 2 extra years or 3 extra years, it might not actually result in that for you, just so you're aware. For example, if you wanted to do a Bachelor of Engineering, that's 4 years of study within the bachelor's degree. And say you didn't get entry into the bachelor's degree right away, whether it's straight out of high school or maybe you're returning to study later in life, you could look at doing a diploma of engineering. And there are diplomas that are offered over 18 months. Sometimes they're 2 years. After you've completed your 18 months or 2 years, you would go into the second year of the bachelor's. So that means that you've skipped the first year because you've essentially already done it and you've only got 3 years remaining. So if you did the 18 months of study in a diploma, that would be only 6 months extra, because it took you 18 months to get in, then you did the final 3 years, so it's only an extra 6 months. So I guess that's the sort of maths that you would be looking at. If you already have a vocational or a certificate qualification, you potentially could get entry into the bachelor's using that piece of paper, and you could apply for credit for your time obtaining that qualification. But you would need to find out what the subjects were that you did in your certificate 4 or diploma or something like that. And you would have to apply to the faculty and request the credit, and they will assess it and they will give you an outcome. If you're going from like a Cert 4 into a bachelor's, it might be less common that you'll get credit because a Cert 4 is considered ranked below a bachelor's. But you can always ask and see what the university offers you. So every university will have its own rule book, which policies on credit. And you can check with the university that you're seeking entry about how much credit you could get for what type of qualification and how much credit will be transferred across from the thing that you've already studied towards graduation in a bachelor's. But it can be really different at different places and within different study at the same university. So sometimes different faculties are more strict than others. So like science sort of degrees, it can be quite hard to obtain credit compared to something that could be a bit more general knowledge type things. So just be aware of that as well. Okay, fast tracking is when you do a particular pathway that guarantees you entry into the second year of the degree that you'll ultimately end up in. So these are the more common types of pathways that enable fast tracking. So a diploma that's related to that bachelor's, so like diploma of engineering example that I gave, or an advanced diploma might enable you to go into the second year of the same related bachelor's. And then there's also sometimes foundation programs that give you accelerated options. So that means that you're not necessarily going into the second year of the bachelor's, but you're doing the pathway at a faster pace. So it's accelerated. So that means your progression in the pathway is faster, and you're completing the pathway at a faster rate than the traditional ones, which means that you could maybe do it in 6 months and then start in potentially the first year, maybe the second year of the related bachelor's, but you would be doing the same amount of work, but just in a compressed format, so less time. So if you want to know what sort of pathways give you this fast tracking option, you'll need to research the websites of the universities that offer them and have a look at like the text on the website and see if they have any credit advertised or any sort of words like fast tracking, accelerated, that will indicate that you're able to either go into the second year of the bachelor program that's associated to the study, or if you can complete the pathway at a faster study progression. Again, the people that are determining all of the rules are the universities themselves. So if you would have a specific question about eligibility or maybe how to be assessed for entry, the best people to talk to are the universities themselves. But if you're not sure how to start with getting an answer, you can always talk to us at UAC and we'll give you the answer to our best ability or direct you on to a better source of information. Okay, so if you are someone that's maybe experienced a bit of a setback in life and maybe you wanted to complete year 12 and something's happened and you've not been able to achieve that, there are other ways to get recognition for your existing qualifications and there are entry schemes that you could look at and apply for as well. So you could look at the Educational Access Scheme if you have an existing qualification and you're experiencing something that was beyond your control and choosing while you're getting your existing qualification. And we can take that into consideration when you're applying to UAC. So that's the Educational Access Scheme, EAS. You can add that into your UAC application. It'll be on the top of your home screen once you've applied. If you've missed out on the direct entry requirements, so when we say direct entry, it's like you've finished school or, you've gotten to the level of I can apply for uni, but maybe your qualifications that you have on hand, we can't assess for whatever reason, then pathways are something good or valuable to consider for you for entry. Because that's going to bridge the gap between where universities want your, skills to be at before they're going to grant admission into a bachelor's. So yeah, we've spoken a lot about the types of names that are common for pathways being like diplomas, foundation courses, things like that. You can also potentially earn credit while you're doing your pathway, which will take time off the time needed in the bachelor's course that you will go on to complete after doing the pathway. And for those people that might already have done some study at a TAFE or a private provider, those types of qualifications can also be assessed for entry. And a lot of the time, the formats that the pathway sort of courses are delivered in are a bit more flexible compared to the standard traditional academic semester or trimester timetable. So it might be something that's a bit more achievable for somebody that already has a career or a family, and hybrid delivery modes are more common these days as well. So these are all the sort of features that make pathways really valuable for students who are wanting to begin their journey towards university or tertiary study, but they're not sure why this term pathways is chucked around a lot of the time. So hopefully that information helps clarify what it is and how they work. Moving on to the next slide. So how do you choose the right one for you? I probably mentioned this the whole time I've been talking, but first of all, you want to look at the university or the place it is that you want to study and see what type of pathways they offer. If you're somebody that wants to do it in less time, maybe have a look at the credit arrangements, or you probably won't come across the terminology articulation agreement on a university website, but you want to look at credit for prior learning, or just the credit arrangements while you're researching that pathway course, whether it's a diploma or a foundation study is the name of the thing on the website. You want to look for credit for prior learning or advanced standing, wording like that. See if that is something that works for that type of pathway that you're researching. And then I guess broader term things, you want to think about what it is that you want to achieve by studying at a university, whether you're doing this to broaden like your career, or whether you're just really passionate about this field of study and you want to go to a university to gain more insight into that field. If it is something that you want to do in a specific time frame, maybe look into if there are universities that fast track that pathway, which means you could do it more study over a shorter period of time, or maybe by doing the pathway, you'll be granted entry into the second year of the associated bachelor degree. And if you're a little bit uncertain about what it is that you want to go to university and study, but you know that you just want to have that tertiary learning experience, maybe you're the type of person that could benefit from having a conversation with the university, seeing where your interests align, like what sort of faculty at a university you'd be considering and what pathways those faculties within a university offer. So pathways can be a bit more broad because they're trying to bridge the gap between like the academic skill set from a high school level to a tertiary level. So I guess if you're doing it for a particular reason, whether it's career or to get a qualification to start a career, you want to make sure that the pathway lines up to the particular bachelor's that you're hoping to do later on. Because sometimes the pathway is a bit more of a general knowledge type thing that might get you entry into some degrees, but not all degrees. So these are the types of research questions or considerations that you'll need to think about before you actually commit and enroll into a particular pathway. Okay, so if you're uncertain about what the sort of experience would be like once you get into university, and I guess I've already touched on this, all universities offer academic support services, whether you're at the university college or the university itself doing the pathway course. So those types of services exist, whether it's academic tutoring, mentoring, things like that. So if you're someone that's had a bit of a break from school or education, formalized education in your life, don't be worried about that because universities do have lots of services on offer for students. Pathway courses usually have classes that are a bit smaller in size compared to bachelor courses. So if your vision of university is walking into a massive lecture hall with 300 students and one lecturer, your pathway subject lessons won't necessarily look like that. But also do your research because the types of classes can be really different from university to university and place to place. Like I said, these are all about building academic skills. So they're going to be teaching you things like critical thinking and reasoning, academic writing, lots of like referencing, things like that, research, and that's going to help you when you ultimately get into your bachelor degree. Okay, so last slide on the information, and then we'll move on to questions if anybody has any questions out there. But if you don't get your question answered tonight, you're more than welcome to send them over to us on a comment or an email or anything like that if you think about it later tonight. So the key messages about tonight's pathway webinar is that there's no one size fits all pathway. Some pathways are catered towards different fields of study. There's diplomas that are dedicated towards a particular bachelor's, and that will be in the name, like a diploma of engineering. That leads into a diploma of a Bachelor of Engineering. But then there's things that are a bit more general, like foundation studies or stuff like that. So if you are somebody that's eager to start studying at a university, but you're not sure which pathway is best for you, it's really good to have a look at what they all are, how they differ to each other, and maybe get the advice from the university itself, because that will all sort of be determined by what it is that you ultimately want to do with the university degree. And fast tracking is something that exists. So that could be doing the pathway in a shorter amount of time, but doing it in a more compressed timetable. So you're not doing less work, you're doing the same amount of work in less time. And then there's also that you end up in the second year of the bachelor's degree. So make sure you're doing your research, you're having a look at all of the options and weighing them up. And if you are somebody that wants to end up in a particular field of study or something like that, just make sure that you plan ahead, because sometimes the ending of your pathway might not line up with a particular intake of a bachelor's degree, like nursing and things like that might only start once a year. Some start in the middle of the year. So think about those things as well. But the universities are the best sources of information and can give you all of this advice when you start your applications. So that's all of the content in terms of tonight's webinar. I know it's pretty information heavy and a bit technical, but I'll just see if there's any questions. And if you do have any questions, feel free to comment below, let us know. We're happy to answer them. But I hope that was helpful for any Year 12 students watching tonight. Congratulations on getting towards the end of your exam period, and hope you're all enjoying the holidays and celebrating the end of high school. And for those of you that aren't in Year 12, hopefully this was beneficial. And if you've got questions, let us know. And yeah, I'll just wait and see if we get anything. Okay, we've received a question. Thank you, because I wasn't sure if anyone was going to ask any. So thanks for that. Someone said, what about pathways into medicine? Has that already been discussed so far within the live stream? Sorry if I missed it. No, that's okay. Actually, I haven't mentioned pathways into medicine, so thank you for bringing it up. So pathways into medicine, I guess, well, it is a pathway, but they could be considered a specialist pathway, if you want to phrase it like that, because tonight's webinar was more about pathways in general. Maybe if you've not got any other formal education qualification that you've received in your lifetime, like perhaps maybe you finished or exited high school before Year 12 and you don't have a Year 12 certificate or qualification that's equal to that. So we were talking about pathways that will get someone's academic skill set up to a level that's ready to begin at a university. If you're someone that's looking at pathways into medicine, because medicine is a very competitive field of study, you would likely already have finished high school, and you might already have an ATAR or a number that acts like an ATAR, but maybe it was called something in the past, like a UAI or a TER or something like that. But maybe you just missed out on receiving an offer into a medicine degree straight out of school, which is actually pretty common. It's quite difficult to gain entry into medicine straight out of high school. So what we always instruct students to think about is what is something that's in the same field of medicine that could be helpful to you to study as you work your way towards becoming a doctor later in life. Maybe you're going to study it for a year and then you're going to try again for medicine in the next application year. Because we see people that apply for medicine, 4 times. So that's like 4 separate years of undergraduate medicine entry. And maybe like the 3rd year, they go, oh, this is it. If I don't get into medicine, this 4th application, I will just finish my degree and I'll apply as a university graduate. And then sometimes they get in and then they're happy with that. So I always say, think about things that are like going to enable you to work in a hospital alongside doctors while you're hoping to get into medicine later in life. So that could be nursing, OT, things like that, physio. It's up to you what you find interesting. And then if you're happy to just do any sort of bachelor level qualification, you could consider applying to medicine as a postgraduate applicant. So that means a university graduate. And that would be applying to a doctor of medicine as a university graduate. And that obviously has its own requirements. So instead of doing the UCAT, you do the GAMSAT. And yeah, some people consider it a bit less competitive because there might be more seats available, but it's still pretty competitive. So Wendy's linked some information there for you to read about common sort of pathways to medicine. We list some degrees there on that website that you could think about as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Medicine is its own sort of ballpark. So good luck. I hope you get in. But if you need advice throughout the medicine application process, feel free to get in contact with us. And I think that hopefully means that I've covered all of your questions about pathways. And if you have any further questions throughout the year or next year, these are all of our social media handles. So feel free to contact us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Our website's here as well. And yeah, this webinar was recorded, so you can always watch it back as well if there's something that you want to remember. So thanks for your attention and your questions. And I hope you all have a great night. Congratulations on all the Year 12 students that have finished their exams. And thank you for everybody else that's not in Year 12 for your attention. And best of luck with everybody that has an application.